Okay, so if you'd like to follow me on this one, what we want to do is that I want to go to dbfiddle. dbfiddle is like an online SQL editor, right? It's an online SQL editor where you can basically write code and run it and that type of stuff. So it's really cool. You can look for dbfiddle. The other one is called SQL Fiddle too, which I'm not a big fan of because sometimes this SQL Fiddle has some problems. So we're not using that at all. Use dbfiddle. All right. And when you come here, I'm going to make my screen maybe a little bit smaller. All right. And so the way dbfiddle works is that on the left side, you write code that deals with a schema, right? Schema is basically the table, the structure of the table, the columns, the data types, things like the indexes, views, everything that holds the structure, right? Schema is the structure. And then even when you want to insert data into it, you do it on the left side of the window here. And then what you got to do is on the right side is where you write queries to run those queries, right? So what we're going to do, a very good, if you're looking for like a tutorial kind of thing, I would very well recommend go to MySQL. Actually, go to W3 Schools MySQL tutorial, and just start from the top. It's got basic stuff. So we'll go over some of these, but what I'm saying is that it's got really basic stuff. So what SQL is, and today we're looking at create. Create. Well, we will not be creating database though, because on the SQL dbfiddle on this thing, you do not create database. You create everything else, but you do not create database. Because what happens is that as soon as you close this browser off, it will disappear, right? It will not exist anymore. But we'll look at create table, right? Maybe look at drop table, right? There's alter table here, and various things like this. So really good place to go and to use it as reference. All right, so and I'm going to follow this just as a guidance of what stuff I need to do. So normally, when you want to create a database, right, you normally say create database and in a name. I'm gonna call this products, right? So it's not going to work here, and the reason is because of the dbfiddle interface, right? It doesn't allow you to, but it doesn't hurt to hit the run button too, right? See, this funny. It says it created it, and maybe it did. All right, and I can say here, what if I say, I know in SQL I can say show databases. I believe it's with an S. Run that and see if it gives me anything. Schema, MySQL. That's neat, actually. There's quite a few databases, and that's funny. I mean, normally you cannot do something like this. It will not let you. But hey, maybe they changed it. Who knows? We'll keep it, right? So you see, I have created a database, and on the right side, I write a code that shows me the database on the server. And these are the database on the server right now. And I'm sure there's many, but it's just, I mean, this is what it's showing me. I don't have control over what it's showing me. All right. And okay, so that is that. And what we're going to do, we want to create a table, right? So the way you create table, sometimes you will see me typing code in uppercase like that. And sometimes in tutorial, you will see uppercase like that. I just don't, I don't have a habit of putting code that way. You will see me doing it that way, but I just don't. I always write code, just keep it all lowercase, because if not, I have to switch back and forth. Create database, create table, and I'm going to call this customer with a no S, customer, and right away you put one of parentheses just like that with a semicolon. Okay, that's how I always do it. So this table customer is going to have and the other thing we haven't talked about is, before you even create this, it's always good for you to go and take a notepad such as this, and you gotta write some stuff down. So you're gonna have a table. I'm gonna put table here. I really don't like this. Sometimes when I hate this interface of delete. I'm using this tool. What does it have? I want a new. I don't know why it creates a .c all the time. Maybe I gotta open new tab and I have to save this. All right. All right. So before you create even a database, you want to design it, right? I mean, kind of draw it out. I mean, we don't have a drawing thing, but you can write it down. So I'm going to say table, and this would be, what would this be? This would be a customer. I'm not sure. You know, I bought this product to use as a notepad, and it's just so, honestly, it's really annoying. It's got all these things it tries to figure out. How do I turn this over? I have to figure that out. Run settings. Anyways, maybe at least for today, this is going to work. Oh, you know, the other one that's even better to use is Excel, right? Excel is pretty cool. If you have access to it, right here, Excel. If you don't have it, you can always use the online Google Sheets. I mean, that is really good too, right? So we plan to have a database. Database name is called products. Actually, we should change the name. Products, I mean, products is always a table, right? I mean, having a database doesn't really make sense. So I think we should change the name, right? And the way we're going to do that, I think you can come here and say, I believe you can say drop database products. Right? Hopefully that's gone, right? Now, instead of products, what if I call sales? Sales makes sense because, you know, sales has customers, it has products, it has orders and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to create a new database called sales. Hit run on that, right? It creates hopefully right there, sales. I'm going to go to my Excel, and this database is called sales. All right, so sales would have a table. And I'm going to call table products, right? Because you're selling products. Remember, products. I'm not sure if I want to call it products with an S or without an S, product. Normally, normally the tables in my database is plural. I mean, without an S. What is it? Plural? Oh no, singular, right? Without an S. So product, and always, you want to have a, a column, and that column would be, an ID. So I'm going to call it product ID, right? Product would have a name, definitely some kind of description name, and also product would have a, how many quantity in hand, and product maybe price. Okay, I'm just going to keep it that way, right? Not go further than that. Just keep it that way. Price, I think that makes sense. And so product, that's my product table, right? Let's draw a thing around it. All right. So now imagine you're sitting with a customer, all right, and you are discussing creating this sales database. Okay. And customer doesn't know technical stuff, right? They don't know. You are the one that knows what tables need to be there in order to create this sales database, right? In order to capture all the sales and payment and products and customer information and all that. So you, as a database designer or programmer, you'll be the one that will be kind of advising or giving recommendation to the customer and saying, this is how it will make sense to do it, in this manner, right? So product, we have these columns, and customer agrees that you need to have those columns. We need to figure out the data type. Okay, what data type would these have? All right, what data type would these have? So what would be the product ID data type? It could be just a number that increments by itself, that would be okay too. You can even have something like a mixture of number and text, right? Let's just assume it's number. So that would be, now I'm trying to think, what is the data type of number in MySQL? I know in Python sometimes it's numeric, so this is integer, right? Put integer, integer, and product has a name. And name could be anything, could be a text, could be a string, almost anything from the keyboard. And in cases like that, you normally want to use a varchar, right? Varchar. Let's just say name is, how long can the name be? 50 characters, right? Maybe 50. Let's put 50 here, right? And then description, the product description, that also have to be a varchar. Now, varchar, it stands for variable character. That means even though I'm putting 50 in as a length, all of the 50 length would not be used. Whatever the length is, hopefully it's less than 50, that is exactly what's going to be used, nothing more than that, right? Where else, if I declare this as a character, as a char, as I'm doing it here, char, I want to say 250, what that does is that it basically creates the difference between varchar and a char, right? The difference in these two is that whenever you have a data type that it creates a fixed space for you in memory for that field, which is 250 characters long. Regardless, even if your data in that field is just 2 characters, no, it has got 250 characters set aside for that field. However, the variable char, the varchar, right, even though I'm calling it varchar 50, if my length of the input is 2 characters or 3 characters, that's how much is going to be used and not the whole thing. So you will hardly see me using the char. I always use the varchar. It always makes so much sense to have varchar. Okay, quantities in integer. How many items is there? And then price, I believe decimal. I'm not sure if decimal is a data type in MySQL. And the reason sometimes I get confused because I also teach a Oracle class, and I think Oracle has numeric, right? Numeric in there too. So either way, you're following the point here. The data type is basically a decimal. Okay, so now that you got data type, you also have to talk about something else, and that something else is whether the field is going to be required or not, right? So product ID. What is special about product ID? Okay, and product ID is the primary key, all right? So I'm going to put PK on top here just because I don't have proper space, primary key, all right? Or maybe I should put it right here. All right, primary key. Right? And then, so whenever you have a primary key, that means that field is required regardless, right? That field is required, that is required. All right. So, and so this would be the other thing. So when you say required in SQL programming, that means it's not null, right? That's what means required. All right. Now, other thing you can also talk about when you are creating a product, a primary key, a key that is an integer, okay, you can automatically tell the table design to increment it itself. What I mean by that is that, because the primary key here, it needs to be unique, right? All of us understand that. But as you insert records into your table, one by one, what will happen is the primary key needs to be increasing by 1 each time. So you can set this auto increment itself, and it will do it for you. You don't have to do it. So I'm going to put here auto increment, right? and maybe I'll show you when I get a chance. It really takes out a big, you don't have to do this big thing that, you just don't have to do it. Auto increment, right? So that really plays into it. Okay, how about name? Product name. Product name, it's a varchar 50. Do you think in the product table, do you think that is something that should be required? Right. I think this would be required because, if you have a product in the product table without a name, it doesn't make sense. It's something that needs to be. So I'm going to put here not null as well, right? That means that is required. How about description? Description, I think so, right? I think so. I think description is required as well. It makes sense to have a description in a product table. Quantity, so think about it. That quantity basically represents how many items you have in hand. Okay. And I mean, if you don't have anything, you can simply say 0. Right? You can simply say 0. So in this case, I'm also going to say not null, right? Not null, that means whether I have something or not, you put a 0 or put a value. How about price? What do you all think about price? Sometimes you have your product in the database, and maybe you're just deciding on the price. You're not sure how much it's supposed to be. So I can say null. That means the company hasn't figured it out yet. Okay. So likewise, you see, this is a good design of a table. We haven't written any code yet, but you can sit with the customer and have the same type of discussion. All right, go through each one and say, hey, how about name? What should be the length of a name? How about description? How about quantity? Right? How about price? And stuff like that. So now you got a product table. Okay. All right. So you have a product table, and then similarly, you can also create an order table, right? Order table, because order table can have order details, and that order details has products in it, right? So actually what I'm going to do, I want to move this down here because I want to have some kind of flow, right? Control X, put it down here. So I'm going to put my order table here, right? Order table. So order table, what are some columns that order table should have? Order ID, right? You guys follow order ID, and that is a primary key as well. Order ID is primary key. So here's the thing, right? The product ID is an integer. It's going to start at 1. It's going to go 2 and 3 and 4 and so forth. But order ID is one of those that you actually share with a customer, don't you? Right? You have, ABC 678 or something, some 6-7 character, at least minimum length ID. So in that case, you cannot just put 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Because customer will call and say, hey, I'm calling in regards to order number 1, right? Normally order number is a set of characters, maybe like 6 or 7. So maybe we should go that route, right? Put a varchar here, varchar, and I'm going to call it 6. Keep it small, but not too small. All right. So varchar 6, and okay, there is varchar 6. How about is it required? Right. It is definitely required. It's 100% required. You need it. So you're going to put here. You're basically going to put here not null, right? Not null means required. Now, the order ID is kind of similar to product ID. They're both primary keys. Would we put an auto increment here? You will not have an auto increment there. And the reason is because the data type is a varchar. And varchar is a mixture of character and character and numbers, and you cannot auto increment that. There's no you have to, there's no such thing that auto increments it. Only if you have an integer, then you can auto increment it. So that's not going to work, right? Order ID. What other information can we have about the order? Order date. How about the date? What date was it ordered? I'm going to put order date here, right? What date was it ordered? And this would be date. Data type is date. Also not null, right? I want to know what date it was ordered. Okay, what else would go here? I think other information that will go here is the total price, right? Total price, total cost. I'm not sure what you want to call it. Decimal, and this would be also not null, right? Total price, order date. Okay, I think that's pretty good, right? You have an order ID, what date it was ordered, and total price, right? You think, is there something I'm missing? How about who ordered it, right? Who ordered it? So that means I need to have a customer information here too. So I can put, I don't have a customer table yet, but customer ID, right? I want to know who purchased it. Customer ID is also a varchar 6, let's put a 6, and it's also not null. So, I'm going to create like a small customer table right here, just a small one, just to put, so that would be my customer, right? And the column here is basically customer ID, right? Customer has a name and address, just few things. All right, customer has a name, and that the customer ID is also a varchar, as we discussed. Varchar, let's just put 6 here, and then not null. Name is, you got to have a customer name, right? Customer name would also be varchar, but it won't be 6 because the length of a customer name could be longer. Maybe 50 is okay, right? Not null as well. We need it. And address, of course, we need the address. So varchar, I'm going to go with 100. And even 100, even I can even go to 50. I mean, to me, it doesn't hurt. It's not going to cause too much trouble when I am using that. So now you see my order table, all right, my order table basically is connected to my customer table. And you would say, how is it connected? That column, customer ID, make it a color. Maybe that's first orange color is connected to right there, first orange color, right? So those two are connected, all right? Now, so how do we, we got to figure out a way to connect our product, product to the order. I mean, when you place the order in anything, you want to see what was ordered. I mean, right? And right now, what we have here, it shows who ordered it, right? It shows who ordered it. It does not show what was ordered. So we need to create something else that we need to create something else that basically will kind of do that for us, right? Okay, so think about it this way. This situation, when we create this, right, when we create this kind of diagram or tables, one of the things we are thinking in our mind is that we want to avoid repetition or redundancy. We want to reduce it, right? We want to reduce redundancy, right? We want to reduce redundancy. And so that's why our design here becomes very, very important, right? Whatever we do, it becomes very, very important. So one order, right? One order can have how many products? One order can have many products. All right. One order can have many products. And so product table is here. The best way to do that is that I'm going to take this up there, right? Control X, take it right here. we should create another table here and call this order details, right? Order details. And this table, basically, it links the order ID, right, to the product ID, right? Product IT, huh? So this will say which order ID was, what product ID was ordered and how many, right? How many, I'm not sure if we need to put the price there, but maybe not. It's okay for today, right? Now you see how the order table and that order ID is basically varchar as well. You wanna make sure that you have the same data type. Product ID has this thing, and quantity is an integer, right? So if I had to color my column of order ID, take that, make it like a light green order ID, then my order ID is right here too. Same thing, light green, and then product ID, change it to something else, maybe like a light blue, and change it to light blue as well. Right now, you see we have got 3 tables, 4 tables actually, 4 tables, and they all connected to each other, I think, very well, right? I think this is the proper way to do it. And if you had to do some normalization steps, that would basically, this would be pretty much normalized, I think, at least for third normal form. All right, so you have a customer buys one order, and that order has details, and in the details you have how many products customer bought. Okay, so you can even expand this to another level, right? Another level, and that would be, you can expand this and say, who was the salesperson, right? Who was the salesperson? What location was this store located at? What was the address of that location? So you can actually go in a lot of detail, right, to figure this thing out. But at least for today, I think this is very simple and very well laid out, right? Not too much details here. Address is wrong, but that's fixed now, right? And so what we're going to do, I'm going to move this to the side, right, on my screen, maybe my other screen, and maybe I'll make it a little smaller. And we want to write some code to create this, right? We want to see how do we create the relationship. So you may know it's too small to see, but as long as we can follow it on the code. So I'm going to move it here, and if I need to come back, I will just click on it and come back to it. All right, so create database sales, that is done. And the first thing we're going to do is to create a... All right, remember one thing. When you're creating tables, right, 4 tables here, which of these tables need to be created first? Which of these tables needs to be created first? And the answer really is, you want to create the table first that does not have a dependency, that is not needing something else that's somewhere else, right? So look at order table. If I create the order table first, is the order table relying on another column on another table? Yes, it is. It's the customer ID, right? So order table is not good to be the first one to create. How about customer table, right? Is the customer table relying on, does it have a dependency? Is it relying on another table, another table or another column? It does not, right? So customer table is a good one to create. How about order details? Right, order detail is a bad one, because guess what? It's got 2 columns here that is relying on different tables, right? There's a prerequisite, there is a dependency. So that's not going to work. Product table is good, right? Product table is not relying on or needing any other columns from any other place. All right, so keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to start with customer table, and customer has 3 columns. Put it right here. And okay, so basically you say create table customer right away, like that. All right, and this table has customer ID, name, and address, right? So I'm going to put I can put everything there. Customer ID, varchar, not null is the primary key, everything together. put a comma after that, and then customer has a name, and that is varchar. What was the name of 50? Right, not null as well. And then customer has a address, varchar 50 as well. So name, address. $250. So it all depends on who are you working with. In a lot of cases when I create table columns, you can put it, since it's representing something, you can, I think it's appropriate to have it uppercase in that manner, right? Because it's an attribute, right? And I don't know. I mean, this sometimes, this is okay. All right. And then, so that is good. Now, remember, when you create a table like this, the last column, it does not need a comma. Okay. If you put a comma, it's going to be asking for another column after that. But since that's the last column, you don't need a comma. Right. So customer table is done. I'm going to say create table. What's the other one? The second one without a prerequisite, the product. Right. And I'm going to copy this over just for my reference, so I don't have to come back and kind of copy this. Create table product right away, and then column is product ID, right? That is what did we have? Integer, right? So product ID integer, that is not null, primary key, and you can say auto increment right here, increment. Hopefully it fits. I was hoping it'll fit. I wonder if I can make the screens bigger or smaller. Yeah, that's kind of too small. 150, right? Where's the zoom? We'll keep it this way, right? And then you have, I can even expand it like that. Product ID, right? So basically I'm saying product ID would be an integer type. It will be not null. It will be a primary key, and it will auto increment by itself. Yeah, the problem with this mode is it sometimes it starts playing around, and I don't like that, Okay, and then you have the name. Of course, customer has a name, or we call it char. That should be a varchar. Varchar 50, and I'm going to put not null as well. And then description. What was the data type of description? Description was also varchar, integer and decimal. So description was a varchar, maybe 250, right? And I think we said not null as well. So I'm missing something here. Then that's why it looks weird. All right, put a comma here. Not null. And then we had a quantity, QTY, that was an integer, that is also not null, right? And then I had a price, I believe. Price was a decimal, and I believe I can put something like 6,2. I don't know, maybe we'll see what it does. And this can allow null. Okay, now we've written a couple of codes. I'm going to run this and see, just to see if there's a problem with my code somewhere, right? And all right, and the way you can check, you can simply say select star from customer, right? That is how you get data from the customer table. I can also say select star from product, that is how I get data from the product table. And if I run both of them, right, it gives me something. It says, because there is no data in the table, it returns to me something. All right. All right, so that is good. And so the next one we were looking at, we got the product, the customer, and the product done, right? Now let's go do the order table. So order table will be similar, create table order. I'm going to copy that over, right? Order ID, that'd be a varchar, and what did we say, 6, right? Not null, primary key, right? Then we had the order date. I think this is date, not null as well. Total price. So when I put a data type decimal 6,2, what that means is that the whole length of the decimal, including the decimal place, is 6 values, right? So this could have any number like 9999.99, right? You see, in total, the whole thing is 6. That is that 6 represents, and then 2 places after the decimal. So that is how you read that out. Right, then you got customer ID, and this would be also varchar 6 and not null, right? So that is it. Now we got to remember that the customer ID that we added, that is basically a foreign key, right? That we need to connect it, right? We need to connect it to another table, and the way we're going to do that is you have to use this concept called a foreign key, right? And the way it's done is very simple. I have the column here already. Now I want to say that I'm going to tell the SQL that, hey, this one is a foreign key, right? And that foreign key basically is a column called customer ID, right? And that references the customer table, the customer ID column, right? And that's basically it, right? So go up and look at your customer table, customer ID. So it says, that line of code says, well, foreign key, that column, customer ID is referring to that column. This could be anything you want to call it, but in this case, we just turned out to be customer ID, right? That column is that, and it's referencing the customer table, and in the table, the customer ID, right? So that's basically how the foreign key works. Okay, so we have a problem here, and the problem is order varchar not null. I know I'm missing I don't think that makes a difference, but it's probably complaining about, all right, I have a problem. I'm going to take this code out, all right? Take this code out, run it, all right? So that I don't have a problem. That means the problem is in my code that I added. Sometimes students would come to me and say, Professor, hey, can you help? Sure, I can help. And I'm going to ask them, what have you done to debug, right? And that's what you do. If you have a problem here, you kind of take code out and see what is working. And whatever is working is good. Then you know what code is causing the problem. So in here, when I run it, I get this error. Something is wrong, right? And I want to figure out what column here in this table that is causing it. So what I can do, a couple of ways you can do that, right? And I have a feeling that it's this order date column. I think it's something to do. I'm missing something there. This looks okay to me, right? Varchar 6 not null primary key, and then total price decimal. That looks good to me too, even though I don't have a null or not null. I think that one should be not null as well, right? And the customer ID varchar 6, the foreign key, that looks good to me. So how can I test this? Since I just feel that one is a problem, I'm going to take that out. Take that out, and then I'm going to run it, right? So you see, that still is a problem. So I'm going to put that back, Control Z, right? Put that back. All right, so total price. You have an error SQL code that check the manual. Near order, right? Where's my create table order? Oh, anybody can tell me what's happening. I can tell you what's, look at the error here. It's saying, whatever, and it says syntax near order, right? Order, and then a whole bunch of these. And then I'm looking, my code looks good, but this is blue. You see how that is blue? However, this one product is black. And anything blue in SQL is a keyword, right? So that order is a keyword. If I put orders here, in this case, and I have to put some flavor of something, put orders here, and I run this, you will see my error has gone away, right? So that was the error. And I didn't even think about it. I thought that the date column was giving the problem, right? So basically, that is how you create the table with the proper relationship with it, right? You're going to put the relationship in there, and then also we have this other one, order details. So that would be, I'm going to show you that too. I think it's good to see how another table can have two foreign keys, right? So I'm going to say create table order details, put one of those, and one of those right away. So this one has, I'm going to copy this over. I can follow it right here. This one has an order ID, and this is a varchar 6, right? And I'm going to call it not null. All right. And then I'm going to do a product ID. Varchar 6 as well. This is not null, right? And then the quantity. So QTY, that's an integer, and that is not null as well, because you need to know the quantity. So this table, right, I have added the 3 columns, just like we had it in our order details diagram. However, is it missing something? Is the table missing something? Right? It is. It's missing the keys, right? The foreign keys. So we want to go ahead and add those, and you can see it's very similar to this one. I'm going to copy this over, then I'll make some changes so I don't have to type it. And I'm going to need 2 of these, right? Comma, one of these again. So you must be saying, hey, professor, why do you need 2 of those? And the reason you need 2 of those, because this table order details, it has 2 foreign keys, right? You see how in our diagram, in our picture here, it has got that column and that column. All right, so let's do the first one. Order ID references, orders table. Remember, it's an S there. We had a problem. Order ID, and then the product ID. Product ID references, product table, and this is called product ID, right? One thing we haven't designated in this table is the primary key, right? And I think it's good to have, spelling of table is wrong. Create table order details. And I think it's important to have the primary key in here, since I think order detail and product ID, right? I think those 2 should be the primary key. So what you can do, you can simply say, something, I think you can say primary key and put here order ID and product ID, right? Copy this, run it. Cannot add foreign key constraint. Foreign key. Order ID, product ID references orders. Order ID references product ID. So it looks good to me. Something got to be wrong though. Order ID voucher, right? Order ID voucher, not null. You want to make sure that the data type is correct. Product ID integer. Customize. So here, order ID. I'm going to take this line out in case this is causing a problem. I'm going to take this line out just to see, right? Identify what line is causing the problem. Foreign key, put the column name there, order ID, column name same, product ID, you put references. The table is going to connect to orders, order ID. So orders, which is right there, order ID, product, which is right here, and product ID. So, it is looking good to me. Hey, whenever I say it's looking good to me, there is always, computer is never at fault. It's always, I'm missing something which I cannot see at the moment. Okay, let's just play with it a little bit. Create table. Let me see in a full mode to see if I can see it. What if I take this out just to see where the problem is, right? Take that out and run it. All right. So I'm going to put Control Z and I'm going to take one of these out. Control X, see where the problem is. All right. So that is good too. So there is something wrong with this thing, the other one that I'm adding. I don't want to copy and paste this over because it's the same thing right there. Product ID right there. References, Control Z. Right. Honestly, I can't figure out. It looks good to me. All right, so hit run here again. What if I take this line out just to see which one is the problem? Okay, I know what the problem is, right? So here's the problem. Very good. You see, we have played around a little bit and we find out that this is the problem. Okay, when I take this out, so from that piece, when I take this out right there, you watch, when I run this, it works fine, right? But when I put that back, it's going to give me a problem. So that's telling me that there's something wrong with that line, okay? So you see, that line of code looks very similar to the other line of code. So I don't think there's anything missing with the way it's structured. I think it's correct. But what else? Why else is it complaining? The reason it's complaining is that because if you look at the product table, our product ID is integer, right? It's integer. And I should have paid attention here. It's integer. However, when I created my column here, I put a varchar, right? And that needs to be an integer. Okay. Now, when I hit run on this one, you watch, it's going to run fine, right? And so that is basically how you start. You create a table and whatnot. Fairly straightforward, but so that's how you do it, right? The other things, if you get time, you want to start learning into it too, at least for next class and whatnot. Look at how to go about inserting information into the tables. right? And so I'm going to stop this here now. Hopefully this helps. Important thing, before you even write code, I think the very important thing is creating a table like this in this manner. All right, that kind of helps you relate things together. Anyways, have a wonderful day.